Speak to Mbali Tetane, who is at Mary Fitzgerald Square. Mbali, good morning to you once again. So the Democratic Alliance members being addressed by party leaders before the march moves. What has been said thus far?
Of course, we are just a few moments away from seeing this march kick off, and we've just seen a number of DA MPs addressing those who are taking a stand against the country's load-shedding crisis. I'm just going to ask my colleague Murana just to show you who we currently have on the DA stage. That is a DA MP who's also a Shadow Minister for Public Enterprises, Khalid Kachalia. Just earlier on, we had the DA Shadow Minister for Energy, Kevin Mylan, just talking about the extent of the electricity crisis in this country, and of course just talking about the impact it's had not only just on normal electricity, but the ripple effects it has on the country's economy, the country's unemployment crisis as well, and its ability to just create business and investments in this country. So we know that a number of people have come here to join in this protest. It is also DA supporters, but at the same time they've also invited just ordinary South Africans to take this protest of the country's electricity problems to the doorstep of the ANC. Earlier on, of course, we spoke to a number of the DA's members. They were just saying that this will be a peaceful protest, and of course, as much as we know that the ANC Youth League is outside the ANC's headquarters, they are saying that they don't anticipate any violence, but they are taking a stand against the country's energy problems. So they are taking this, instead of taking it to the Union buildings or Megawatt Park, Eskom, they are saying that the root cause of this problem is the ANC's cadre deployment policy, and ultimately having a ripple effect on who heads the country's state-owned enterprises.
But before we do, we're going to hear from the being that march about to start moving, as you have heard Mbali there, party leaders addressing those who are gathered. All right, let's take you to Luthuli House for the moment, and that's where we find Ziyanda Ngcobo. Ziyanda, good morning to you. The ANC's cadre deployment policy, it is being blamed by the DA as to why state-owned enterprises like Eskom find themselves in such situations such as we are now, load shedding.
Well, colleague, there's someone who would be privy to some of the discussions within the ANC NEC. She's somebody who would know the details and intricacies of the issues faced by Eskom. That's one, Nonceba Mhlauli. She's an ANC NEC member, and this morning we are seeing a political party coming to march upon the premises of another political party, but in essence it cannot be denied that the energy crisis in South Africa has reached unprecedented levels.
No, absolutely. It is precisely for that reason that the ANC-led government, of which its seat is in Pretoria, not at Luthuli House, has come up with what we call, or we refer to rather as the Eskom, the Energy Crisis Committee, which on Sunday actually issued a very detailed report of the work that it's done in the past 6 months, including what some of the plans are to ensure that we increase generation, we increase capacity, we ensure that the maintenance plan is done in such a way that does not continue to have us seeing these high levels of load shedding. Beyond that, the board of Eskom was in Parliament, I think, at Ngcobo on Monday, detailing what some of the plans are to turn around the situation. The president, when he was speaking in KZN about 2 days ago, gave a very comprehensive account of what the ANC's plans are, well, the ANC-led government's plans are, with regards to turning Eskom around. So the ANC-led government has never not spoken about the energy crisis, which is why there are measures that have been put in place to ensure that, we deal with the crisis of the energy shortages that we have at the moment.
parties like the DA have been quite critical of Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe. They're basically saying that part of the reason why we have this problem is because he's not signed off on any additional power to be added onto the grid. There's an impending cabinet reshuffle. Should Gwede Mantashe go?
Firstly, the DA is lying. In fact, the Energy Minister issued a communique about a week ago about the progress that has been made with regards to the issue of IPPs. In fact, there were even infographics to show what has happened over the past 12 months, where the delays have been, where the procurement has taken place, and what the plan is going forward. That's one. So it's not true that there has been, a refusal on the part of the minister to ensure that, the decision of government with the procurement of IPPs is something that is done to ensure that we have additional generation capacity. That's one. Two, it's very interesting as well, Ziyanda, that there seems to be a anti-Gwede Mantashe lobby that is taking place. And if you look at the anti-Gwede Mantashe lobby, and you look at the pro-Derator lobby, the timing of those two actually started at the same time. It's interesting as well that the DA says the energy minister must go, but doesn't say that the guy who's employed to run the utility to keep our lights on should not go. So there's a clear attempt to shift the blame from those that are employed through our monies as taxpayers to keep the lights on and shift it towards a scapegoat, which is Gwede Mantashe. The Minister of Energy has always stated what the position of the ANC is insofar as the energy mix is concerned. The ANC's policy has always been having an energy mix. In fact, if you read the renewable energy paper of 2003, as far back as 2003, the ANC has spoken about introducing an energy mix, which is what we now call the just energy transition. And Minister Mantashe and our national chairperson has consistently put forward that view. A view, by the way, that was reaffirmed by the conference that finished just about 3 weeks ago. What we are saying as the Youth League is that, one, we share the frustrations of South Africans, particularly young people. The matrics just now told us about the fact that, yes, they've done very well, but they had to write matric exams in the dark, which is a concern that we share. As the Youth League, as far back as 2 years ago when we came into office, our very first statement was around the energy crisis. We said the regime must go. We said the board must be shifted, must be changed. Thank God that has now been done. We seem to now have a new board that seems to have a clue about resolving what the energy crisis is. And we've consistently over the 2 years, as the Youth League has said, come up with sustainable proposals to deal with load shedding once and for all. The DA has been quiet, in fact, defending the board, defending the rater. Today they want to come and cheap politic to Luthuli House. What we're saying is, if we're all worried about load shedding, let's all march to Megawatt Park, where the people who are employed to keep our lights on are stationed.
Just very quickly, Ms. Mhlauli, what do you say to South Africans who don't have the patience for another 12 to 18 months of load shedding? Enough is enough. Small businesses are suffering, for an example. What's your response to that?
Look, our response is that what we need to do is to find a sustainable solution to load shedding. For an example, it won't help us to say, let's stop maintenance right now. The reason, by the way, that we find ourselves in the situation that we find ourselves in right now is because about 10-15 years ago, a political decision was taken to delay or not go through with the maintenance of those plants, which is why 10 years later, we find ourselves in a situation whereby now that we have to actually ensure that there's consistent maintenance, part of that means that you reduce the load on the grid, which is why we have load shedding. And what we're saying is that if we want to fix Eskom once and for all, deal with the maintenance issues, deal with the grid in its entirety, deal with the debt issues, for an example. The DA is not telling us that the Tshwane city of the city of Tshwane that's run by the DA owns Eskom 1.5 billion. They're not talking about that. How is Eskom going to service its 400 billion rand debt for it to be able to function optimally if municipalities do not pay Eskom? So what we're saying is, for us to ensure that we get to the point where we have consistent, interruption in our supply of energy, let's solve the problem once and for all. And we understand the frustration, we share the frustration, but what we're saying is, let's collectively together solve the problem once and for all, and not politics because there's elections next year.
All right, so that's Nonceba Mhlauli. She's an ANC NEC member, but she's also forming part of the Youth League. You can hear that there are more, and you can see as well that there are more ANC Youth League members who come outside the Luthuli House, and there's a chopper that continues to hover over the area. The ANC Youth League quite clear that they won't be moving from outside the headquarters, and the DA will now be making its way to a park around the corner from the Luthuli House and not directly where we stand on Pixley Semi Street.
Thank you very much for that update. Ziyanda Ngcobo live for us at the ANC's headquarters in downtown.